Not surprised at all, because UMNO has been speaking about severing ties with the Prime Minister's party and pulling out from the ruling coalition for several months now. And so what we've seen unfold over the several days is them making good on that promise to stop being part of that coalition.
Is it convenient to use COVID as an excuse to try and oust Muhyiddin? Would support for him eventually have been withdrawn anyway, do you think?
Well, I think people have mixed views about the reasons for the withdrawal from government. On the surface of it, the Malaysian public is very upset over how they have not been able to suppress the infections. In fact, we now have another daily record high of infections in Malaysia. And beyond that, there's also dissatisfaction over the economy. And so as a result, it is in some ways reflective of the public mood. But at the same time, it also makes people very angry because it plunges government into uncertainty, particularly at a time when the country is in crisis.
Yet it doesn't look likely that the Prime Minister will cave in and step down like UMNO want him to.
Yes, it doesn't look that way, in part because the country is still under a state of emergency. He has been under pressure to reopen Parliament, and so the Parliament is going to reconvene in a couple of weeks. But there will be no voting in this special session. Any voting that will take place will be much later towards the end of the year. And therefore, the Prime Minister's majority will not be tested for some time. So he has a bit of time. And therefore, it's most likely going to be business as usual to the best that he can pull off.
And if UMNO managed to challenge him, who would be vying for the top job?
Well, I think at this point in time, the UMNO leadership is also well aware that the top leaders of the party are tainted with previous scandals and currently embroiled in court cases. So I think in the statement read out by the party president recently, he mentioned about an interim government led by a prime minister that is respected across the board. So we think that UMNO may offer one of the senior leaders of the party, somebody who is more amenable to most of the political spectrum, and perhaps offer him as an interim leader until the infection subsides and elections can be held again.
What happens if it just continues as status quo? What will UMNO do then?
I think in the next few days and perhaps in the coming weeks and months, there will certainly be a test on the UMNO leadership, whether or not they are going to force their members of parliament to actually withdraw support from the Prime Minister, i.e. by resigning from the cabinet or resigning from government posts that they are currently holding, and therefore really plunge the country into political uncertainty. I think at this point in time, looking at the statements that have come out from the party, I think they're refraining from doing that because they are also worried about public backlash over them collapsing government at a time when there's a great concern over COVID-19. So I think we're going to see this play out for a while.
Indeed, Ben, where does this leave the country? In the middle of a pandemic, surely such political instability already won't help with the COVID situation.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there is a deep, grave concern about where things are going because beyond the pandemic, we have, the pandemic has ravaged the economy. And so we do have a lot of people who are distressed, and we also have people who are running out of food. So I think the ultimate answer is that there has to be an election held in order to resolve the political impasse. And the question is how long before the country is able to suppress the pandemic, get everyone vaccinated. The government is targeting towards the end of the year. So perhaps this uncertain situation may drag for several more months and perhaps into next year before an elections can be called for a new leadership to be elected.
There are so many challenges to deal with. From the Malaysians who you have talked to, what do they want? What do they think is the priority?
Well, the members of the public want the government to fix the pandemic situation and reopen the economy. The country has now been under a lockdown for a pretty long period of time, slightly over a month, and there is no end in sight because the infection rates are continuing to creep up. So first and foremost is the concern over the economy. Second, people want the government to assist them, provide financial aid for small businesses, and particularly the very large informal sector. There is some aid, but perhaps it doesn't go far enough to assist members of the public that are hardest hit by the economic fallout. So people want government to handle these things. But yet, they get troubled because, social media is awash with pictures of crowded hospitals and also the political stories of turmoil and politicking that seems to be unending.
Ben Suffian, such a difficult situation for Malaysia at the moment. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you for your time in talking to us.
Thank you.